The days that followed were unlike anything the C-drama world had seen in years. What began as a quiet live stream had blossomed into a movement, a collective heartbeat that transcended screens, language, and time zones. Soo Kai's unguarded moment rippled across the internet like light spilling through cracks, illuminating everything it touched. Clips of him smiling softly into the camera, no makeup, no filters, just raw humanity, were now circulating on every major platform. But beyond the numbers and the trending tags was something far deeper, the way people felt when they watched him. It wasn't just admiration anymore. It was identification. It was empathy. It was love, not for the star, but for the man who dared to be seen. And at the center of it all, like a quiet flame that refused to fade, remained Tang Songyun'S comment, those simple words that had unlocked the world's tears. You don't always have to hide behind the mask. We see you, and that's enough. People began printing those words onto digital art, fan posters, even handwritten notes taped to mirrors. They became a message to themselves, a reminder that vulnerability could be beautiful. In entertainment forums, fans discussed how that moment changed their perception of celebrity culture. They spoke about exhaustion, not just Soo Kai's, but their own. About the constant demand for perfection. About how it felt, finally, to breathe in a world obsessed with appearances. And yet, the story didn't end there. Behind the scenes, something began to shift in Soo Kai himself. Interviews that followed carried a subtle change in tone. The once playful star now spoke with greater calm and clarity. He admitted that the night of the live stream had left him emotional long after the camera went off. He said he'd sat there in silence afterward, reading the comments that kept pouring in, realizing how many people longed for that same authenticity. I think I was the one who needed that moment most, he said quietly. For the first time, I felt like the audience wasn't looking at me, they were looking with me. The phrase went viral. Looking with me. Fans adopted it as a hashtag, a banner, a philosophy. It symbolized connection without distance, the very essence of what Soo Kai and Tang Songyun had sparked. Soon, other celebrities began taking notice. A few appeared in casual, barefaced live streams of their own. Some read poetry. Some simply chatted with fans. Each of them, knowingly or not, was following in Soo Kai's footsteps, allowing their humanity to take center stage. But what truly made Soo Kai's story unforgettable was not how many people followed him, but how deeply he stayed true to the moment. He began supporting mental wellness causes, subtly advocating for rest, balance, and honesty within the entertainment industry. He spoke openly about burnout, gently encouraging his peers to take time off when needed. Fans started calling him the Honest Prince, a nod to his courage to show imperfection. And through it all, Tang Songyun'S quiet grace never faded from memory. The two never made a spectacle of their friendship, yet their names remained linked, not by gossip, but by something pure, a shared humanity witnessed by millions. People still remember the look in his eyes when he read her words, the way his breath hitched before he whispered, "Thank you." Those few seconds became immortalized, looped endlessly in fan edits, accompanied by soft music and captions like, "When words heal a heart in front of the world." Because that was what truly happened. A heart was healed, not just his, but ours. It's strange how a single act of sincerity can ignite 1,000 reflections. In a culture often fueled by filters and facade, that night became a rebellion of softness. Soo Kai's bare face wasn't just a face, it was a mirror held up to a generation aching for authenticity. And maybe that's why people still talk about it. Because deep down, everyone is waiting for their own Tang Songyun, someone to look at them, past the masks and mistakes and say, "I see you," and that's enough. As months passed, the energy from that night didn't fade. It evolved. Fans began calling it the Night of Seeing. It became a quiet legend, a story retold in short clips, fanfiction, and heartfelt essays. New fans, discovering Soo Kai for the first time, would trace their way back to that live, replaying the moment that started it all. And through it all, one truth stood tall: realness connects deeper than perfection ever can. Perhaps that's why Sue Kai's story isn't just entertainment, it's a reminder. A reminder that beneath every flawless photo is a human heart. A reminder that kindness can echo louder than fame. A reminder that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is simply be seen. And that's exactly why we at K-Heart Diaries tell stories like this. Stories that go beyond the glitter. Stories that touch the quiet corners of the soul. Because K-Heart Diaries isn't just a channel, it's a sanctuary for those who feel deeply. It's where every heartbeat behind the spotlight is heard. It's where moments like Sue Kai's live are not just reported, but felt. If you've ever cried watching a scene because it felt too real, if you've ever seen yourself in a character's heartbreak, if you believe that behind every celebrity's smile lies a story worth understanding, then K-Heart Diaries is your home. Here, we don't just tell tales, we feel them. We dive into the emotions that make our favorite stars human. We unravel the quiet bravery behind every performance, every tear, every laugh that touches millions. From Sue Kai's vulnerability to Tang Songyun'S empathy, from the bright lights of Seoul to the quiet heartbeats behind every C-drama and K-drama we love, this is where their stories find their soul. So, if your heart beats a little faster when truth meets art, if you long for stories that stir emotion and inspire connection, subscribe to K-Heart Diaries. Join our growing community of dreamers, feelers, and storytellers. Together, we'll explore the unseen, the unspoken, and the unforgettable. Because the world doesn't just need more content, it needs more connection. Every week, we bring you heartfelt features, emotional analyses, and cinematic retellings of the moments that make Asian entertainment truly magical. Whether it's Sue Kai's unmasked honesty, Tang Songyun'S gentle strength, or the next beautiful story waiting to unfold, we're here to make you feel it all. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's continue this journey, not just as fans, but as souls connected through stories that matter. Because at K-Heart Diaries, we don't chase trends. We chase truth. We chase emotion. We chase the heartbeat behind every headline. And who knows? The next time a star goes live, or a drama scene moves the world to tears, you'll be right there with us. Part of the story, part of the moment, part of the heartbeat. So come closer, dear dreamer. Let's keep seeing, feeling, and believing together. This is K-Heart Diaries, where every heartbeat tells a story. And this is only the beginning. But what truly made the moment unforgettable wasn't the virality. It was the humanity. In a world where celebrities are often treated as flawless beings, Sue Kai's decision to appear unguarded and Tang Songyun'S quiet affirmation dismantled that illusion. It reminded fans that beauty isn't in perfection, but in authenticity. That sometimes courage isn't about standing tall, but about letting people see you when you're most unsure. As the days passed, articles, reactions, and think pieces flooded the internet. Some called it a defining moment of authenticity in Chinese entertainment. Others saw it as a subtle protest against the unrealistic expectations placed upon public figures. But among all the analysis, one sentiment echoed louder than any other. He finally showed us who he is. Fans began posting barefaced photos of themselves in solidarity, using hashtags that translated to hashtag #WeSeeSukai and hashtag #BareButBrave. Messages poured in thanking him for making them feel less alone. "I used to hide my face because of acne," one fan wrote. "But seeing Sue Kai go live without filters made me realize I don't have to be perfect to be enough. I cried that night," another shared. "Not because of him, but because I saw myself in his words." Tang Songyun'S, ever graceful, made no attempt to claim attention afterward. She didn't elaborate on her comment or give interviews about it. She simply let it be, a moment of kindness left to speak for itself. And that silence, that restraint, made the moment even more powerful. Weeks later, Sue Kai would mention in a magazine interview that the live stream changed something in him. It reminded me why I started, he said. Acting, for me, has always been about showing emotion, not hiding it. But somewhere along the way, I began hiding even in real life. That night, I think I found my face again. Those words struck deep. Found my face again. It wasn't just about going makeup-free. It was about reclaiming his identity from the expectations that had shaped him. For years, Sue Kai had been known for his immaculate beauty, his aristocratic grace, his ability to embody perfection on screen. But perfection is a heavy crown. And that night, he finally took it off. In every great artist's journey, there comes a moment when art and truth collide, when the person behind the image steps forward and says, "This is me." That was Sue Kai's moment. And the reason people wept wasn't only because of what they saw, but because of what they felt. A rare connection that transcended fame, culture, and distance. Even now, months later, fans still speak of that night in reverent tones. They recall the soft tremor in his voice, the glint of sincerity in his eyes, the ripple of Tang Songyun'S words across the sea of hearts watching. Some say it felt almost cinematic, as though life itself had written a perfect script about humanity, fame, and empathy. The truth is, moments like that are rare. They cannot be staged, rehearsed, or manufactured. They happen only when one person dares to be real, and another dares to respond with compassion. Sue Kai and Tang Songyun did not plan to move the world that night. But they did. And as the final seconds of the live ticked away, Sue Kai looked straight into the camera and whispered a quiet goodbye. "Thank you," he said, "for seeing me." The stream ended. The screen went dark. But somewhere in that silence, millions of people found a piece of themselves reflected in his bare face. For the first time in a long time, the world remembered what true beauty looks like, not the kind painted on by professionals, but the kind that shines when we let the world see who we really are. And so, a simple live broadcast became something far greater, a story of courage, kindness, and connection. Sue Kai had gone live without makeup, but in doing so, he revealed far more than his skin. He revealed his soul. And Tang Songyun, with one line of truth, gave that moment its heartbeat. A night that began as an ordinary stream became an emotional legend, one that reminded everyone watching that it's okay to be seen, it's okay to be vulnerable, and sometimes, it's in the barest moments that we are most alive. It began like any other quiet evening in the digital world of fame, a soft glow of screens, millions of fingers scrolling through endless feeds, the buzz of notifications blending into the rhythm of daily life. And then, as if the night itself decided to stir something extraordinary, a live broadcast notification appeared. Sue Kai is live. At first, no one thought much of it. Sue Kai, after all, was no stranger to live sessions. Fans had grown used to his charming presence, the effortless smile, the teasing wit, the kind of polished grace that only stars of his caliber could master. But what awaited them that night was nothing short of a revelation. Because for once, the man who had always been presented as flawless, untouchable, almost celestial, appeared on screen without a trace of makeup. The camera flickered for a second, adjusted to the dim light of his room, and then there he was, barefaced, unfiltered, and breathtakingly real. The comments exploded instantly. Hearts flooded the chat. Words like natural, handsome, real, and wow darted across the screen in dizzying bursts. But beneath the initial excitement, there was a pause, a hush that lingered longer than usual. Something felt different. Sue Kai wasn't smiling the way he usually did. There was a quietness about him, a softness that hinted at fatigue, maybe even melancholy. His hair was tousled, his skin unpolished, and his eyes, those famous eyes that had mesmerized millions in dramas like Story of Yenchi Palace and Arsenal Military Academy, carried a depth that no lighting filter could ever recreate. He greeted his fans warmly, as he always did. But instead of the bright energy and rehearsed charm, his voice was calm, almost subdued. He laughed once, softly, as if testing whether the sound still fit him. The chat kept rushing by, a storm of emojis, greetings, declarations of love. Yet he seemed, for a brief moment, distant from it all. "Everyone still awake?" he asked, smiling faintly. "You should rest more, you know. You all work too hard." Fans responded with affection, their typed messages forming a mosaic of devotion. But then, the conversation began to drift, not toward the usual topics of upcoming dramas or behind-the-scenes stories, but toward something far more personal. He began talking about the weight of constant perfection, how every public appearance came with expectations, how every photo had to look flawless, every gesture rehearsed. He mentioned the unending chase to meet the image the world expected of him. His words were quiet, almost hesitant, as though he wasn't sure if he was allowed to say them aloud. "I think," he paused, eyes flicking downward, "sometimes people forget that we're just people. We get tired. We feel lost. Sometimes I don't want to be the perfect version of Sue Kai. I just want to be me." The screen seemed to freeze in that instant. For fans who had idolized him for years, the sentence hit with unexpected force. It was as if a veil had been lifted, and behind it stood not the immaculate star, but a young man, vulnerable, sincere, and startlingly human. Then, something remarkable happened. Amid the flood of messages, thousands per second, a comment appeared that would shift the entire energy of the live stream. The username was instantly recognizable to many. It was Tang Songyun. Fans blinked, rereading it again to be sure. Tang Songyun? The Tang Songyun? The beloved actress, known for her warmth, authenticity, and emotional depth, had joined the live. And her words, though simple, carried the weight of 1,000 emotions. She wrote, "You don't always have to hide behind the mask. We see you, and that's enough." For a moment, the chat fell silent. Thousands of people stopped typing, almost collectively holding their breath. It was as though time itself had slowed down to make room for the tenderness of that sentence. Sue Kai saw the comment almost instantly. His eyes flickered toward the screen, and then a faint smile curved his lips. But behind that smile, emotion gathered like light behind water. He looked up again, blinked once, twice, and said softly, "Thank you." His voice cracked ever so slightly. "Thank you, Songyun." The viewers could feel it, that fragile sincerity that only appears when words reach the deepest part of the soul. Tang Songyun'S comment wasn't just a friendly reassurance. It was a hand reaching out across the digital divide, a quiet reminder that even stars need to be seen for who they truly are. In that instant, the entire live transformed. The atmosphere shifted from fan adoration to shared humanity. The chat filled not with screams or heart emojis, but with messages like, "You're doing great. Take care of yourself. We love you just as you are." Tears began to fall, not just for Sue Kai, but for what he represented. Because behind the story of one man's vulnerability was a mirror reflecting everyone's own silent exhaustion. The endless need to be perfect, the fear of being judged, the loneliness of hiding behind filters and smiles. Sue Kai continued to speak, now more freely, as if Tang Songyun's words had given him permission to breathe. He spoke about his early days, how he used to worry that he wasn't handsome enough, talented enough, charismatic enough. How fame, while dazzling, could also feel isolating. When you're always being watched, he said, you start to forget who you are when no one's looking. The comment section, usually a chaotic blur of fan chatter, became a space of reflection. People wrote their own stories about pressure at work, about insecurities, about wearing emotional masks just to get through the day. It was no longer just a live stream. It had become a collective confession, a shared moment of truth. And all of it began with a bare face. There was something poetic about that simplicity. Sue Kai, known for his elegance and beauty, stripped of glamour, had revealed a side that felt even more magnetic. Without foundation, eyeliner, or the safety net of professional lighting, he seemed, paradoxically, more luminous than ever. Tang Songyun'S presence lingered throughout the broadcast. She didn't comment much more, but the quiet empathy of her single message stayed alive in every corner of the chat. It became a mantra repeated by fans. We see you. That's enough. As the minutes turned to hours, Sue Kai relaxed. He leaned back, laughed softly again, and began sharing lighter stories about filming challenges, funny moments on set, even small domestic details like burning his breakfast because he got distracted. The laughter that followed felt warm, genuine, unforced. It was as though the collective act of vulnerability had lifted an invisible weight from the entire audience. By the time he ended the live, the number of viewers had soared into the millions. The replay spread like wildfire across Weibo, TikTok, and YouTube, with captions like Sue Kai's Bareface live stuns fans and Tang Songyun'S comment leaves everyone in tears. Clips of him smiling softly, blinking away tears, and thanking her were replayed endlessly, each view reigniting the same gentle ache in the heart.